OMG, baby, tell him.
Hey there, welcome to Powered by Backers, another edition of Ask the Experts. I am here with Sathish, Bala. Sathish, thank you for joining me.
Hey, my pleasure, homie. Thank you.
Awesome. So we'll get right into it. Do a quick little intro. So you were the founder and CEO of Blue Band Digital, which you sold in 2017. You help clients across many different industries. You started your first business while studying computer science at Ryerson. I'm just sort of reading a quick bio that you wrote. You weren't a great student, so you didn't want to settle for a regular job once you graduated, which has now kicked off a 25-year entrepreneurial journey with 4 amazing companies. You now have you've run Desi Fest, which hosts 500 plus artists. You've had 50,000 people visit, so it's a South Asian music festival, exactly. And then obviously you have you're a digital strategist. You work with basically entrepreneurs, primarily in the minorities and women. So you kind of focus on that space. So you help them with all things that you need, that they need, I guess, in building their business. So is there anything I left out in that? And you and I met. We were panelists together at a conference about, I guess, a month ago. We were just saying maybe 6 weeks ago, I guess. Right before all of this started. It was sort of early March, right? And it was even questionable whether people were going to show up to that conference, I think. Right? There's probably half the people didn't show up, right?
Yeah, it was in the early days of this thing. We were trying to figure it out. The only thing you left out, if anything, is at 45, I still have a deadly 3-point shot.
There you go. Awesome. You can hit the 3. Have you been practicing in your driveway?
Yes, sir. Every day I get out there with my son, and he's got the little hoop. I've got the big hoop.
Big hoop. There you go.
Yeah, awesome. It's been fun.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll jump into it. I mean, I kind of gave a quick bio, but tell us a little bit about where you've been and where you've come from. Like, what's your story? I mean, I kind of gave the Coles notes, but tell me a little bit about what you are and who you are and why you do what you do.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a lot to unpack, but sort of the short version is, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, but they're all in India. I left when I was 4. My dad's a non-entrepreneur, academic, is an engineer, typical sort of South Asian dream, grow up, become an engineer, get married, have a couple kids. Right. Hopefully the kids are engineers, and then the cycle just continues. Right. And then I kind of showed up and they didn't know what the hell to make of me. So I spent probably a good portion of my life between India at age 4 and then another 10 years in Singapore. Okay. And in both countries, they celebrate academic success.
Right.
And we're, I'm 45, so we're talking about the 80s, right? And so, most of my life, I spent trying to figure out, like, what is wrong with me? Because everything I do sucks. Right. Everybody that sort of, I look up to, from parents to teachers to uncle, continue to remind me of all the things that I suck at. Right. So what is going on? And then I was 14, and we ended up moving to Canada for the rest of my life now. And it's only when I got to Canada, specifically Scarborough, where we landed. And all of the brochures we were given was all beautiful until you showed up, and you're a Scarborough guy, so we got here 89, like late 80s, early 90s. Scarborough wasn't on any brochures, man. So you showed up, and I was like, "What?"
That's. I'm 42, so I'm not far off. So I would have been. Same era, right?
Yeah, a couple of amazing things happened in my life when I was, 14 and showed up in Canada. One, I experienced multiculturalism for the very first time. And it blew me away with the different types of people that was in my neighborhood, and the cultures and the languages and the food and the music. And then I got to meet a whole bunch of new thoughts that I've never had to experience before. People all of a sudden were, sort of giving me compliments for things that I always considered weaknesses: my creativity, my music, my art, my ability to solve problems, charisma, social butterfly, all this stuff that was so dumbed down before we got on the plane. I come here and all these things are celebrated and encouraged, and I was like, what just happened? Right. And so at 15, I went through this personality crisis of who am I? And if everybody I look up to now says I'm good at these things, and everybody I look up to says I'm not good at these things, do I make a choice on what I think I am?
Right.
And my life really started at age 15 on this life hacking, personality correction, self-discovery mode. And in doing so, the perfect vehicle for me was to create businesses that allow me to face my fears, and sort of go head on to things that I found I wanted to be better at. So,
Right.
and that's sort of how my first business started. And then I got addicted to not only the financial success, but the person I was changing into. And that became even more addictive than the money I was making, which you can't control, as you know.
Right.
And so, over the last 25 years, I've got 4 good companies to my name that I've been able to build and exit from. But I was like 96 other ones that just made me a better person. And collectively, that's my ecosystem. How can you life hack? How can you take the things that, feel limiting and turn them into empowerment? How can a business vehicle really help you grow as a person?
Right.
And then I love selling. I like telling stories. When I get involved in a project and I believe in it, I know how to drive revenue. And so, that's sort of my ecosystem. So,
Cool.
it's a nice measurement of like, personal growth, business, and like money all into this like for purpose and profit sort of model.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about, what are you doing now? So I'm obviously, talked a little bit about some of the businesses that you've sold.
Yeah.
What is it that you're doing now? And, I know we talked at the conference, I think, that you had a goal of a certain number of individual businesses that you wanted to work with and some numbers. So tell the audience, they're primarily entrepreneurs themselves. What are some of the things you're working on right now, and what is your vision with that?
Yeah, no, totally. So, prior to the whole COVID thing, about a year.
minus COVID. Yeah, obviously everyone's had to readjust, right?
So prior to COVID, last summer I launched a private incubator called Bala. And this came out of my work I did with 2 years with Ryerson building Science Discovery Zone. My first experience in building an incubator and sort of experiencing in startup coaching. And there was a lot of great experiences coming out of it. But the 2 things that really stood out for me was one, minority founders, especially in tech, and female founders in tech, weren't getting the same early stage support, right? There's this common sort of workflow everybody share, ideation, MVP, build some traction, growth, raise money, and go. But so many people from different backgrounds can't even get into the first phase because there's a cultural weight. There's a that's what you're gonna edit out. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
There's a cultural weight. There is a financial weight. There is a family weight that is not accounted for in that model, right? So as an example, like when you're South Asian, for example, you're groomed from day one to be an employee, and that's the safest bet. All the parents know you get a job, you're good. But the minute you say, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, the thing that you lose immediately is family connection. So you go from supported all your life to complete isolation. And a lot of us don't know how to deal with that. And there's no systems ready to do that, right? And that gets magnified by 1 million when you're a female South Asian founder, right?
Right.
And so we really said, hey, if the current ecosystem has got a certain pattern, and there's a whole bunch of folks that don't fit the pattern at stage 1 yet, how can we get involved in stage 0? How can we help more people of color, minorities, and females get past that stage 0 so their ideas can move into the pattern? And then there's bigger systems like Ryerson, Velocity, etc., that can take them and groom them and bring some really cool ideas to the market. But without step 0 being a unique strategic approach, a lot of the people that we're talking to weren't invited to the party. So that's what Bala Group is about. We're still, focused on, how do we get to our first 100 startups, combining marketing, advertising, lead gen, and sales, which is my background. How do we get each one of these founders to their first million? And if we get them to the first million, now they can fit into the ecosystem. Now you're walking in not as a minority or female founder, you're walking in as a CEO of that customer traction, revenue, strategy, focus, proven model. And that's how we're going to make, true diversity happen in the startup ecosystem. And that's how we're going to bring different voices and different opinions that we're not listening to today. And that's how we're going to change what the panels look like going forward. That's how we're going to get different VC investors in the next 5 years. So our goal from last summer was to get to 15 to 20 companies per year, get to about 100 companies in about 5-6 years. And we don't take any equity. It's a rev share model. We sort of believe what we do, and so we're confident that with the right partners, the right founders, we can drive the first $1 million in sales and take a revenue share more than equity. And so that was our model. Everything was going well. We had 7 companies in the portfolio. Things are going well. I've been preaching and making noises, and then boom, COVID happens, and then a lot of the folks in level 0 that were already kind of like forcing themselves into this new role couldn't continue, financial reasons, family reasons, whatever it is. So our pipeline sort of shrunk a little bit. We also are a sales organization. So unless I can get you in front of somebody to make a revenue, we're not good for MVPing and prototyping and product building. We're a take your model idea and go to market kind of team. So we sort of said, okay, let's park it, let everything sort of heal. And in the meantime, what I've been doing is really just spending a lot of time one-on-one with startup founders that are looking for just a pitch advice, right? So it's a friendly sort of Zoom call where it's 15 minutes, you come on and you pitch your concept, deck or raw or idea, and we still do sort of stage 0 mentoring. So we give you some feedback on the idea, maybe connect you with people that are already a few stages ahead, or bring in a partner that can sort of give you a better, feedback based on the category you're in. So Bala Group today is sort of working on this, first pitch mentoring mindset. And then personally, I was like, what the hell do I do now? The incubator sort of come to a pause. My other big project every summer is our South Asian not-for-profit, Desi Fest. We hold a large outdoor concert
Is
every
that
year.
still going to happen or probably not?
So we had to cancel it because, we get about 150,000 people.
Right.
And it's
not
the right thing to do.
Right? Yeah.
Right. So I was like, hey, what do I do with this thing now? Because now that's gone.
Yeah.
And then like every entrepreneur, I went back to the whiteboard and said, okay, here are my transferable skills. Here are some problems in the world. Here are some solutions that are happening, but I think they could be done better. Or here's some solutions that don't exist that I think I can innovate and create. And I gave myself a 6-month window to just do something that, I can take my skills and not necessarily sort of sit on the bench and wait, but like do something about it. So 2 projects came out of this thinking. And they're both sort of side hustles that I've been working on for the last couple of years, but never really gave it the love and attention because it wasn't a top priority. One is a company called Applause, APPLAUS.io. And we started this about 2 years ago during our live music concerts. We realized, when there's 50,000 fans in an outdoor event, they can't tip you. They can't put money in a jar, right? But if you're on stage, and if even 10% of them can give you $1, you've made $5,000. That's usually 10 to 15 times more than what I can pay you as a performer. So we said, hey, why don't we create some sort of a digital solution that allows fans in a very frictionless way to tip musicians in live events? So we started this company called Applause. It uses QR codes and some proprietary backend solution where all you need is a camera. You point it at the QR code, takes you to a tip page. Apple Pay, Google Pay, credit card, boom, transaction done in less than 30 seconds. You don't need to sign up as a fan, log in, username, none of it. It's the cleanest, frictionless way to tip a musician. And we took it to market formally as a public beta in Brazil and in Toronto. And all the bars got shut down. So like, did we do this? Like, did we launch something and then the world shut down?
Yeah.
What just happened? And then for a couple of weeks, we're like, what do we do? All the bars are closed. And then boom, all the artists started calling us saying, hey, if there's a unique URL that I can use, I want to use this on my live stream. I want to use it on my live stream.
Right.
My live stream exploded.
So now they can use their camera just like up on against the QR code on the live stream.
Or we have a link that's unique to the QR code.
Right.
So you click on it off your Instagram, Facebook, IG, Twitch, whatever. And that's really growing. Like, we went from, 5 or 10 signups a day to over 100 signups a day. And it's been fantastic because, it is the cleanest way. And when we look at all the other systems, people are using like Tip Me on PayPal or Twitch or any other of these other folks, but you still as a user go and create an account and get a password and log in and tip. For us, it's really, if you have Apple Pay, Google Pay set up, it's like buying an app.
Right.
And it's all secure on your phone. You don't have to give any information. It's anonymous. So that's really been exciting. So that company went from like literally, 20 kilometers an hour to over 150.
That's
We
cool.
launched the US office 2 weeks ago, working on a partnership in London and in London, UK, and in India. And we're also looking at ways we can take the same base technology and turn it into other markets. So, frontline folks that are working, for example, I imagine every hospital having a QR code, and I can tip the frontline folks on the way out as a thank
Right.
you for taking care of my family, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're working on some of those pivots. So that's been a really awesome, unexpected growth for us. The other project that I'm really passionate about that I'm working on literally 20 hours a day is a company called Schoolio. I think I might have tagged you on a couple of things, but you know, two
I
years
did see
ago,
that. Yeah. It's sort of like
yeah.
a Google education sort of, or like the Google
So
platform.
it's a little bit more human than that. So
Right.
basically, what happened was a couple of years ago, we were thinking about homeschooling my daughter because she had acute ADHD, and the school was like, you gotta, put her on some kind of medication. And I get it. Some kids need that. I didn't think my kids needed it. So I said no, and I said maybe we'll take her out and do homeschooling. And I went online and tried to like figure out how to teach online curriculum at home. And
Right.
it was a nightmare, man. It was a nightmare. Like I'm a pretty smart dude and I couldn't figure it out. So about a year ago, I said, well, what if we created a Uber for teachers and then
Right.
took all the online curriculum and converted to e-learning modules? Now, as a parent, I can connect with teachers that are accredited. I can have them tutor my son or daughter. I can also buy the curriculum at a much more affordable rate, like a $9.99 Netflix model, and follow along the content that's being taught in class. So at home, when my daughter says, "Hey, I'm stuck on fraction," I'm
Right.
not trying to understand how I learned fraction in 1982.
Right.
I can look at the module and know exactly how they're teaching it in school, right? And then, we had a loose business plan of like, if it takes a couple of years, let's download the content, mess with it, figure it out. As soon as March hit and the kids weren't going back to school, I
Right.
said, man, I need a
Accelerated.
solution.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go. And so now, Schoolio, we just signed up our 23rd teacher in our beta. By next week, we'll have about 300 hours of inventory to sell to parents for one-on-one tutoring and group studies. Our team is hustling away on taking all the curriculum and transferring it and be ready by September 1st. And I know the schools are not going to open, or even if they are open, it'll be fully online anyways. And so
Right.
Schoolio kind of now is my first child in my day-to-day efforts, and Applause is like a close twin, born like a few minutes later. And so both of them, sort of line perfectly with how I see all of my companies. What's the problem that somebody solved and I can help do it better, or haven't solved and I can jump in and solve it. And then, we're talking to two big markets right now that are impacted:
Yeah.
musicians and artists
Yeah. Like
that don't
live
have
events, right? And obviously
live
education,
events,
right?
and the whole
Yeah.
world is going online, and then
Yeah.
education. So now when people ask me like, what do you do? I get to say I'm in music tech and fintech
There you go. There you go.
and
I mean,
edutech.
I look at backers. I mean, we're a digital platform, right? Digital investor onboarding tool, right? So, the term is sort of equity crowdfunding, but we're kind of pushing away from that into more of the social funding aspect where we can apply to different types of funding models, but basically make it easy for an idea. You talk about the zero at the beginning, where do you even begin, right? Our whole motto is giving everyone an opportunity to kind of have
Mm-hmm.
access to capital, right? To have access to capital from not just your typical investors, but from everyday people who would support your idea, who maybe prior to this would never be able to really kind of support you. Similar to Applause, or where now somebody can see what you're doing and can just give you $100 towards your business, and now they get a piece of your business, right? So when your
Yeah,
business is
maybe let's
successful,
walk.
yeah,
I would love to walk through that some more, because I know people that are gonna watch this video that are in my circle might not have met you yet.
yeah, yeah,
But if like one of the things we're trying to do with Schoolio, for example, is at some point, to truly create the content that we need to go raise a couple $100,000, right?
right,
And we're like, well, do we go the traditional route, or why can't all of our backers, unintended, be
yeah.
parents? because
Exactly.
we're building a tool for them.
Or
So
the
if I
teachers or
showed,
whoever else is,
yeah.
whatever, anyone else in your community.
So if I
Yeah.
showed up on your doorstep, like walk me through, if you don't mind, on like what do I do with you?
It's funny. I was actually going to do the opposite. I was going to say, hey, you want to test your skills on assessing our pitch? And I was going to pitch you, but let's do it the same way you just said there. Yeah. So basically, Backers is a social funding platform. And what happens is we take those entrepreneurs, they sign up. We do about a 90-day sort of accelerator, incubator type of program where we'll go through. We've got Backers University, so it's an online, bunch of programs, courses that we've got people to create. So it's a learning management system. We've got, we do group coaching. So they kind of partner up with an entrepreneur in residence who manages a number of entrepreneurs that we're working with. And they do group calls. We do live streams. We do a bunch of different, content. There's a lot of sort of material that they have to curate to kind of get ready for a campaign.
Right.
And then we also, we help them with the marketing, sales, business development, sort of to actually drive an audience, because the whole premise is it's their audience investing in their opportunity, which is kind of counter to what every other, platform looks at. They say, hey, we're going to bring investors to your idea, but that it's proven based on research, from hundreds of thousands of campaigns, that it's actually their network that invests, not the platform. So
Right.
It's really about getting, your message out and sort of building up that market validation of, getting the parents, let's say in Schoolios or the teachers or whoever's in that community, and basically reaching out to them saying, hey, you know what, here's what we're doing. You like our product or service? That's awesome. And then upselling them with equity. We use the term upselling with equity. So now it becomes a matter of, okay, you like our service. Hey, we're offering a chance for you now to invest in our business, become a shareholder in the business. So what we do is once they're done the 90-day accelerator, there's sort of a checklist of things that they need to meet up or match or accomplish. And then when they're ready, we launch a campaign. And we actually do a series of campaigns. So we help you build momentum throughout the process so that you're not just going out, here's a 90-day window, I'm going to raise $1 million and, crickets, right? It's actually, let's do a little round, another little round. And then progressively the valuation goes up, the momentum has grown. The people that maybe missed out round one, they're like, oh, I'm going to get in round two. Or they start to see that you're actually building and building and building, right? And we do it over a series of rounds across a 10-month period. So the whole program is about a year, roughly, just over a year. And we can raise up to 1.5 million under the current 45-108 crowdfunding exemption with the Ontario Securities Commission and the SEC. They all have sort of various frameworks that allow retail investors. So anyone can invest up to $2,500, as low as $100. So we have 100 up to 2,500, and then accredited, they can do 25,000. So
oh wow,
it really
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it really opens up. We do as little as 100,000 is your total raise, up to 1.5. So yeah, we're literally going to be raising the very first round. We're actually going to do a beta test with backers, raising 4 backers on our funding portal. So actually next week, starting on
That's
Monday.
amazing, man. Yeah, that's amazing. So, yeah, I would love to once you sort of get through your round. I mean, for me, everything has always been like, how do we get the right people to always support us? And in this case, going after, and the panel we were on is bootstrapping. So
right, bootstrapping,
my DNA is really about how can we go, and that's why Schoolio launching next week is launching with the sort of Uber model, where instantly we can start to drive revenue by connecting teachers and parents, and then based on that revenue, we can start to reinvest in 100% into curriculum development, and then once we identify what the gap is on how fast we want to go, that could be the money that we need to go raise. But I love the fact that you've got such a different opportunity. And anytime a company could have backers that believe in the product,
exactly, they become super fans, right? They become,
that's a dream come true, because now everybody's there for the right reason.
Exactly. And so I just pitched to everyone. There you go. What do you think about that pitch? What are your thoughts on backers now that you know a little more about it?
No, I think I love it. I mean, the first day, when you mentioned it, I wanted to check out your site and stuff. And, we're aligned on the ethos of like, when I think about it, I always say, look, your friends and family round is the one you don't want. Because it's money, has a 50-50 chance of, sort of disappearing, right?
Right.
But your friends and family will always be there, right? I'd rather bring friends and family in later on when I know that, hey, there's going to be a profitable venture, and I'm going to reward you guys for believing me, emotional support, taking my phone call at 4 a.m. when I'm crying that something is not working,
Right.
rather than I want your money up front, right? And so then, somebody like you comes in and says, hey, it's not necessarily your friends and family, but the people that choose to believe in your idea really believe in your idea, and
Yeah.
not evaluation, not a 100x future exit, which I
Right.
think is beautiful. And
Yeah.
you've created a new opportunity for founders like me that I totally appreciate.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
That's how I would pitch you. Let's go, double pitches.
There you go. All you listening, that's what. So we've had about 2,000 entrepreneurs come through. We've got about 30 right now that are on the verge of ready to launch their own campaign. That are working through the process. We've probably got a couple hundred that are kind of coming through the front door, if you will. So yeah, our model is it's a longer process, right? So it's not just like launch and there's campaigns on the platform, right? So yeah, I mean we're seeing a lot of people kind of that actually maybe had come to us 6 months ago and weren't really ready to sort of step in, and maybe things were going good, right, in their business, or their urgency wasn't there, and now they're coming back to us saying like, hey, wait, so sorry, explain that to me again. What was this process, right? Or maybe they decided, hey, I'm going to go try and raise money the traditional route, and they were unable to, or they thought they were going to be able to do this or this, and it's hard. I mean, raising capital is difficult, right? Sitting down in front of VCs, and they do 1 in 100, 1 in 200, right?
Sure.
They might invest in, right? So the other 199, I mean, come to us, right? And quite frankly, we think, and this is my belief, the money you get is more valuable from us than it would be from a VC, because now you've got them as a super fan. You're probably going to get a much better valuation than you would from the VC. And you also, it doesn't come with the oversight of, hey, I need you to exit in 3 years at 100x. So let's do everything we can that may not be beneficial to the business itself to make your business look like a 10x business or 100x,
Sure,
so that we can exit, right? So
yeah,
there's a lot of misaligned kind of, often misaligned objectives between the VC and an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of factors that play into it, and we're very much focused on the marketing and sales, which I think you can appreciate. So
sure. Yeah, and then also just to sort of connect the dots in a different way in my head, it's, as the CEO, I have to decide which money makes sense when, right?
Right.
Schoolio, for me, if I use the example, is a perfect first option. Go to my ideal customer. If they believe in my product and they're doing tutoring anyways with us, invest in us. Every $100 means you believe in us, right?
Right.
But on an applause side, we get a Live Nation, we get a Spotify, we get one of those folks investing in us. It gives us industry credibility and an opportunity that the public can bring. So I think part of it is to go, hey, just like what I'm doing and what you're doing, there's an existing service providers.
Yeah.
World has changed.
Yeah.
So let's look at some new options. And it took us a while to convince folks that, like, we're not trying to replace TDSB. We're not the new school. We're not here to graduate kids.
Right.
That's not our job. We're simply saying, if you're a parent and you can't spend the time to knowledge transfer with your child, you either have to go Kijiji, Craigslist, and get a student instructor,
or like Mathnasium or those types of,
or you got to go to one of those
places,
right?
Yeah.
Which even when they move online, the problem is they don't teach curriculum. So knowing their version of math, and then the kid goes to school and the teacher is now trying to put a different version of the same math in their head, we're not forcing a young person to decide which version is right.
Right.
So if I'm going to take a bet, and I'm not a betting man, but when I take bets, I'll bet the school system 100% of the time. Right. The teachers that put in their time and
it's surprising. I mean, our kids aren't quite at that age. I've got a 4 and a 6-year-old. So the 6-year-old's probably just starting to get to there. But I didn't realize that a lot of those, like Kumons and Mathnasium, they don't teach the curriculum.
No, they say it's loosely connected to curriculum.
Right.
But why you would choose Mathnasium or Kumon or Khan Academy is they bring their proprietary way of teaching. It's all the same math, but this is a Khan Academy version. This is the Oxford version.
Right.
Which is totally cool, man, when it's like school's open and this is a 5 o'clock on a Wednesday night extra program.
Right.
But school's not around and they're the only option.
Right.
And you know, as much as I love foreign companies, a lot of these folks are bringing in, you know, how math and English is taught in India or Asia, right? We're hiring Ontario teachers that are sitting on the bench that have put in 4 or 5 years of their years into becoming teachers that need another income or an option, or they just like to be doing what they're meant to do, which is educate and take care of kids. And so for us, like, you know, this proudly Canadian, let's go support our teachers it's a big part of our ethos.
That's cool.
But yeah, I think, you know, whoever watches this, they have 2 great pitches happening at the same time.
we're like simulcast pitching right here, right? There you go. Schoolio, applause, backers. And we're gonna get Schoolio and applause on backers, and you're gonna be able to invest in them soon enough.
That'll be amazing.
We'll have to talk about that off air.
I love it. I love your energy.
We'll get it done. So that's awesome. Yeah. So there you go. I don't know if this may be a world record. We just simulcast pitched to 2,000 people, right? 3 different businesses. And by the way, do you want to know my other ideas? No, just kidding. I won't get into my. I don't want to confuse them too much, but yeah.
You put 2 guys from Scarborough on a channel. This is what happens, man. We know the hustle.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Scarborough Bluffs represent. There you go. Okay, cool. Do you want to shift gears a little bit?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit. I mean, you actually kind of touched on it, and I've been asking everyone this sort of the same question. You know, what are some things that you just said you kind of shifted, complete pivot, right? Everyone's talked about, you know, January 1st, whatever you were doing January 1st or even March 1st, right? You need to completely reassess, complete 180, potentially complete shift to another focus because the world has changed and the new norm, or, you know, everyone's talking about the new norm. It'll never go back to the way it was exactly.
Sure.
Right? There's going to be a change. So, I mean, are you still working with any other organizations, or what are sort of some of the things that you're telling people about or things to do when you are working with people? Or have you completely stopped and now you're just on Schoolio and applause? Or what are your thoughts on COVID in general, or where do we go from here kind of thing?
Yeah, so I think for me it's less of a pivot, to be honest. I think there's such big pressure with words like that, because now, you know, you start to overthink it, right? So my basic formula always has been, I've got a base set of skills that are my foundational skills.
Right.
And then there's some stuff that I just suck at, I've ignored it. Some stuff that I need to learn to enhance my base skills. So at the end of the day, COVID or no COVID, I know how to find a problem, understand the market need, find a customer fit, price it properly, and take it to market. Whether it's a $10,000 a month company or $1 million a company, my base model is still the same. And that's what we've brought to Bala Group, right? With every company that comes in, we do the same 5 things. If it makes sense, we take it to market. If it doesn't make sense, we're gonna give you our blueprint. Peace out. We'll see the next person.
Right.
All I've done now is go from focus on acquiring or partnering with 100 founders
to doing your own.
I want to have 2 projects.
Right.
But the one path that could all go down is 6 months from now, these companies are running so well that we literally hire a management team and a CEO to run those 2 companies. Then I go back to Bala Group and do what I wanted to do from a year ago, build 100 companies.
Right.
Or the world has changed enough where this was really a gateway for me to think about building companies and move into what I own now.
Going back to building companies.
Right? So I'm not necessarily pivoting, and I don't think anybody needs to search for themselves. Like, yes, we're isolated. Yes, some rules of engagement have changed, but 80% is still the same, right? What you have to start thinking about is, where can I transfer my energy? And then what's the new stuff I need to figure out to enhance it? So if you look at like, you know, applause, I transferred my energy and my focus. I don't really have to learn anything new because I've been in the music game for 25 years of my life.
Right.
What I had to learn is all the new stuff about live streaming, audio, bit rate, video rates, because then I can have a discussion with the musician of how to introduced us into live stream. So I've got all this new information in my head about live streaming. In fact, I do a live streaming every night on Facebook with our music group, where I DJ and bring on artists and do all sorts of fun stuff. So enhance. Schoolio, same thing. I've been in e-learning tech, building technology forever. What I had to learn is a teacher's view, a parent's view beyond mine and my two kids, new terminology like LMS and PCI compliancy and cybersecurity and all this stuff to protect our
Right.
technology needs. But the base is something I would know now, I would know post-COVID, I would know anytime. So
Right.
If anybody's watching this and you're under pressure to like start blank, don't. Just transfer and
take your existing core competencies basically, and you apply them to maybe a different opportunity potentially.
That's
right?
it, man. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Because it's no different than somebody who is making a career change, or
Right.
somebody who just had a successful exit and don't know what to do next. Right. So we've all been in these transitional roles.
Right.
It just feels a million times magnified
because everyone's going through it at the same time, right?
Right.
It's like
and our base freedom to leave the home and make a human connection is removed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
But those at some point medically will be solved.
Right.
So you don't want to be in a position where the world heals and you've self-destructed by choice.
Right.
That always been my feedback. Like, focus on your strengths. Try to learn the things that you don't know to enhance what you're good at.
Right.
And don't freak out that you need to go out and like create a unicorn in these times, because that's what happened the last time.
Right. Yeah. Everyone talks about, hey, look at all the businesses started in 08 or
different. And there's this mindset of like you're growing up or you're dying. No, now's the time. If it's okay with you and your lifestyle and your family and the money you have in your bank account, just stay. Just stay. Don't go high. Don't go low. Just maintain if you can. You know what I mean?
Right.
And look for opportunities where transferring and enhancement can get you ready in the next 90 days.
Cool. So I'm gonna use what you just said there, and I'm gonna actually ask a very similar question. Asked a lot of people this. What piece of advice outside of what you just said would you give to someone coming up into entrepreneurship, someone who's starting or looking to start a business? What would be advice that you would give to that person? Maybe the younger Sathish. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think the most amazing thing for anybody that's looking at a startup now is you literally have no rules.
Right. Yeah.
Like anything that you think
it's boundless.
Yeah. People that you typically can't reach will take your call. People that typically have a solution, well, that solution no longer is the only solution.
Right.
There's an unprecedented opportunity to approach any problem as if there's no rules, no hurdles, no roadblocks. You don't have money? There's money. Go find it, because people like you have a solution that might not be in your radar until this happened, right? So I think if a guy that has never stepped into education can go build what I think could be a pretty successful.
What's the website for Schoolio? Is there
Schoolio, just the way the cool kids say it, schoolio.io.
.io. Okay, cool.
Right. And I think that's really the biggest thing I'll be telling everybody that calls me for first pitch. All of your preconceived, industry hurdles, people hurdles, those are all gone. I was tagged on a Startup North spreadsheet that somebody's putting together, where there's an unprecedented list of people that are looking for jobs. Like, I don't have to call a headhunter anymore. I don't have to give up money for bodies. There's a list sorted by titles and last job and phone numbers and emails.
Really?
Imagine not having to go to Indeed.com and I just look at the list, call you, and hire you tomorrow. Like, the rules are thrown out the door or changed for the better, I think. And I think that we've also learned how all of these things that we needed, office and infrastructure and overhead to feel productive, is gone now. Right. So I feel like now's the time to be fearless. Now's the time to go full speed ahead.
Double down.
And double down, because anything that feels like a wall, really it's not. It's all in your head. And now's the time to go. Perfect.
Cool. Well, I'll end it off with one last question. I've asked everyone sort of the same question. It's kind of a dumb question, but it's fun. If if there was one food, what have you been eating while you've been in lockdown? Actually, have you been getting a lot of different food, or kind of like here we eat a lot of craft dinner? That's I've probably thrown myself under the bus too many times by saying that. But what would be one food that you would eat if you could eat that one food for the rest of your life?
Rest of my life, will be chicken stir fry.
Chicken stir fry. There you go.
Chicken stir fry. I love chicken stir fry. But unfortunately, and I say this with all love, we've been eating Indian prison food, which is like
what is Indian prison food?
Which is literally like roti and potatoes, man.
Over and over again. Yeah.
Because that's the most basic, easily available.
Yeah.
Everybody in the house, kind of likes it as a default, so we don't have to worry about what the kids want and in-laws. And so so I've been living the Indian prison life.
That's kind of that. I guess we're in the Canadian prison life, the craft dinner. I don't know if that's what they serve there, but that's pretty much it. It's easy. The kids are like, put some ketchup on it, we're good.
Yeah. Right? Every now and then we make a McDonald's run, and even then, like before we went today, I did a McDonald's run with my son. Yeah. And it's like you buy it, you come home, gloves, take everything out, transfer it, wipe everything down, and then you eat. Like the whole thing is crazy, man. But, it gives you a really interesting perspective and appreciation into everything that we sort of
took for granted. Yeah, for sure.
So, I appreciate your time, man.
Cool, awesome. Well, thank you, Sathish. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me. And as I'll shout out to everyone. Be sure to stay tuned. April 27th, backers will be raising money for backers on the backers platform to show you just how we do it, so that you can see how you can do it too and go raise your own money on our platform. So, anyways. Sathish, thanks for joining me. Enjoy your day. Stay safe, everyone else out there. Thanks for joining me on Powered by Backers. And
OMG, baby, tell them.